Heyo, and good evening. It's actually evening or late afternoon in the United States. It's in the middle of the night here in Sweden. And if you woke up in Australia, fun for you. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, this will be interesting. And I wasn't going to cover anything about Trump. I heard about the RICO and thought not much about it until the name of the district attorney showed up. And I discovered, that it is the same district attorney as in the Young Thug case. And that piqued my interest. How is sound doing, by the way? Both for you on YouTube and on Rumble. I hope it is okay. There's something wrong with the microphone, so I'm back to using the mic on my very, very cheap camera thingy. Get some sleep. I have slept. I've slept like a baby. Short hours, and I cry when I wake up. So when I heard that it is the same district attorney who has the very fortunate name of District Attorney Fani, F-A-N-I, but I don't know how she pronounced it, so Fani it is. For you who are from the UK, that is extremely funny. Trump, Young Thug 2025. Oh, well, it's not coded. Well, technically yes, but this happened during the last stream that all of a sudden sound muffled and just went away. So hence I'm doing sound via my webcam. Hi, Angela. Hi. Just stopping by to say hi. So yes, knowing now that it is the same district attorney in the Young Thug case as in the Trump case, that piqued my interest, since I have a hard time understanding how she will manage to get this to trial within 6 months. when the Young Thug, they have been going on about it for over a year, and they're still not close to going to trial. They are still doing jury selection, because it's really hard to find a jury that can and will stay on for 6 to 9 months in the Young Thug trial. So we have been doing a lot of, let's see what happened in January during the Daubert hearing, and what experts this district attorney is trying to get in, and I am not impressed by that, if you have seen my coverage of the Young Thug trial. But let's see if we can learn a bit more about Fulton County District Attorney. So this is what she says. Legal Watcher says that Fulton County District Attorney's entire career has prepared her for the prosecution of Donald Trump. Yes, she went on her election was focused on, I'm going to get Mr. Trump indicted. For me, that is an excellent platform, and in my opinion is that you, first of all, electing district attorneys is bad. It should be competence only. But she won, and there she is. And since she was elected in 2021, this is her third or fourth RICO indictment. The first one was concluded in summer of 2022, and right after that she started with the Young Thug thingy, and so that has been going on since more or less last summer. There are still a few defendants who still is held with no bond because they don't have representation. And why is that? Well, it's because they decided the pay for public defenders in Georgia is for this trial, the Young Thug trial, for the entirety of the trial, which includes everything pre-trial, is $15,000. Now, $15,000 is not something to spit on, but it's a 6 to 9 month trial. And they have been going on for it for over a year in pre-trial stuff. Then all of a sudden, $15,000 isn't that much. And that brings us to this again. The synopsis for a Fani Willis biopic would probably go something like this. In Fulton County, the first black woman to serve as a district attorney takes on an unlikely case. Willis grew up attending court with her father, a defense attorney and Black Panther. Okay. Now she sits on the opposite side of the courtroom, hoping to indict a former president who sought to overturn election result and often espoused white supremacy. What? I'm not going to continue reading this. Let's read about this. This is the first case, about the first case that she tried from Fox 5. And this is prison time cut for educator convicted in Atlanta public schools cheating trial. And what is the Atlanta public schools cheating scandal? The Atlanta, let's see, did it get up? Yeah. The Atlanta public schools cheating scandal refers to the accusation that teachers and principals in the Atlanta public schools district cheated on the state administered standardized test in 2009 and to the subsequent... No, this is not it. Yeah, it is. Sorry. In 2009 and to the subsequent trial in 2014 and 2015. And the trial that began on September 29, 2014, presented over by Fulton County Superior Court Judge Jerry Baxter. It was the longest criminal trial in Georgia history, lasting 8 months. The lead prosecutor was Fani Willis. And this is something that is really interesting because this was... Yeah, I agree with the freaking joke of an article. This trial was from... so I misspoke. That trial was 2014 to 2015. The lead prosecutor was Fani Willis. Before the end of the trial, the superintendent at the center of the scandal died of breast cancer, age 68. On April 1st, 2015, 11 of the 12 defendants were convicted on racketeering charges, which was included into the RICO Act. So this Wikipedia is not all too correct. Dessa Kerr was the only teacher found not guilty on all charges. And why do I bring this up? Well, this is 12 teachers. Oh, sorry, I didn't pull it up properly. There you can see it. This was a trial against 12 defendants. That took 8 months, the trial alone. That's not including pre-trial or anything. And now we know that she is doing the Young Thug, which has been going on for over a year. And it's still not up to trial. And that trial will be 6 to 9 months. That is still ongoing pre-trial. So how she will manage... Jesus Christ. I'll do that instead. So how she intends to get this to trial in 6 months is beyond me. The Young Thug trial was 28 defendants at the start. They are now down to 8. Almost everybody else has pled guilty on different charges or simply was released. Where do I want to go with that? Well, if 28 defendants takes her over a year and still not being able to get it to trial, how in the actual F is she supposed to get the Trump indictment? How many people are in there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Is it 19 or 20? I don't care. Of some highly skilled bullshitters. I'm calling them that because it's PR guys, it's lawyers, it's Trump, it's a politician nowadays. These are professional bullshitters. And every single one of them will have their separate attorney, which means that every separate attorney will make their own motions for their clients. They will have to find time for that. They have to find a judge for that, who has the schedule for that. Now, they can prioritize it. Yes, they can. But it still doesn't... You can't expect a judge to be full-time on one trial only, in my opinion. Maybe they can do a retrial on that, but I suspect no. I really suspect that won't be the case. So first of all, they need to find lawyers for all of them. All of the lawyers will file their separate motions of dismissal, their separate motions of regarding discovery, objecting to discovery, I mean, everything in this will be objected to, motioned about. They will do everything to keep this out of court as long as possible. So her opinion that it will take 6 months to get to trial is improbable, in my opinion. Now let's go over a bit about the Georgia RICO Act, so we get some basis for it. And let's do it like this. 2020 Code, Georgia Code, Title 16, Crimes and Offenses, Chapter 14, Racketeer, Influenced and Corrupt Organization, RICO. Paragraph 16-14-4, Prohibited Activities. Universal citation. It shall be unlawful for any person through a pattern of racketeering activity or proceeds derived therefrom to acquire or maintain directly or indirectly any interest in or control of any enterprise, real property, or personal property of any nature, including money. B. It shall be unlawful for any person employed by or associated with any enterprise to conduct or participate in, directly or indirectly, such enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity. C. It shall be unlawful for any person to conspire or endeavor to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B of this code section. Any person violates this subsection when he or she, here's a leftist position they can take. Don't misgender me. No, I'm just joking. He or she, together with one or more persons, conspires to violate any of the provisions of subsection A or B of this code section, and any one or more of such persons commits any overt act to affect the object of the conspiracy, or he or she endeavors to violate any of the provisions subsection A or B of this code section and commits any overt act to affect the object of the endeavor. Let's try to translate this to layman talk. Okay. This means that any person in the organization, if it's Trump, attorneys, PR, whoever of these 18 or 20 or whatever it is they are indicting, anything that person did and is found guilty of, everybody else is found guilty of in the RICO Act. They clump everything together. Now, here's the thing about the Georgia RICO Act that differs from the federal RICO Act. There's a difference. And I will show you from, I found this article that I thought I would share with you folks. This is from Paul Huffman. I guess he's a lawyer. But I read it and I thought, this was good. I'll use it. So thank you. RICO, Racketeer, Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. The Georgia Racketeer, Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which was created to combat traditional organized crime, has been expanded to include multiple types of fraud, theft, and computer crimes that can be committed by individuals and corporations. In civil litigation, the statute allows for the collections of triple damages and attorney's fees. Also, in a RICO, judgment is not dischargeable in most types of bankruptcy and can sometimes be collected against successor corporations. When crafting the Georgia RICO Act, the legislature used the federal RICO statute as a model. The Georgia RICO Act, however, has several differences and is much broader than its federal counterpart. The two most important differences are that the federal RICO statute requires proof of continuity and an enterprise. In contrast, the Georgia RICO Act can be used to prosecute individuals and schemes that have been active for only a short time. In civil litigation, RICO is a tool that businesses and individuals who have been victimized can use to recover their damages. When bringing a RICO claim, the parties become private attorneys general. They are able to recover treble and often attorney's fees. Unfortunately, the RICO Act has been overused in litigation and often brought in simple breach of contract matters. Defending these matters can be difficult and the stakes are high because essentially the defendant is being accused of criminal conduct. Typically, the types of crimes that are prosecuted under the Georgia RICO Act are complex criminal schemes that involve thousands of transactions of multiple victims. To be prosecuted under the Georgia RICO, the underlying crimes must be acts of racketeering activity. The crimes that qualify as acts of racketeering activity are listed in OCGA 16-4-3. Although RICO Although RICO started as a tool to combat organized crime, today's prosecutors use RICO to prosecute employee embezzlement cases, Ponzi schemes, credit schemes, complex investment schemes, or a series of theft that aggregate to over $100,000. The statute is also often used to prosecute commercial gambling cases, pain management clinics, and public officials. RICO is codified. Criminal RICO carries a maximum penalty of 20 years and a fine that is greater of $25,000 or 3 times the amount of pecuniary gain. Now, what is the definitions here? Let's see here. Boom. Everybody see this? Don't be scared to use the chat, people. Yes, I know I put it in subscriber mode. So subscribe. It doesn't hurt. Where were we? Yeah, the definitions. As used in chapter, the term. Yeah. Civil forfeiture proceeding shall have the same meaning as set forth in code section blah blah blah. Criminal proceeding means any criminal proceeding commenced by the Department of Law or the office of any district attorney under any provision of this chapter. Enterprise means any person, sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, business trust, union chartered under the laws of the states or other legal entity, or any unchartered union, association, or group of individuals associated in fact although not a legal entity, and it includes illicit as well as licit enterprises and governmental as well as other entities. There's a fly here. Where did you go? Where did you go? Oh. He saw this and disappeared. And this is a bit about the broadness of the Georgia RICO Act. It's vague, and in its vagueness, the prosecution gets away with more. If they had chosen, for instance, in the Young Thug RICO-trial, if they had chosen to indict each individual for their each individual crimes, then the burden of proof and the rules for the prosecution had been much harder. And but in the RICO Act, it seems like, to me at least, that the prosecution is using this primarily to get people to snitch on each other. Draw it out, make people snitch on each other. That's my opinion. For you who wonder, nicotine pouches. Don't start with nicotine, kids, because it's a costly habit, so to speak. And for you over at Rumble, I see that there is a bunch of you there. Please follow me on Rumble. And if you here on YouTube want to, let's check out Rumble instead. The link is attached on the top of the chat. Okay, thank you. Yes, where was I? For instance, in some cases in the Young Thug the motions, they have been calling for, among other things, hearsay. But apparently, in Georgia statute, in case law, it is allows more hearsay to come in as evidence. I don't like that, because I don't like the way hearsay has been diluted in US laws. I really don't like it, because hearsay should be hearsay, and today there are so many exceptions, it's ridiculous. Where was I? The definitions. Pattern of racketeering activity means engaging in at least 2 acts of racketeering activity in furtherance of one or more incidents, schemes, or transactions that has the same or similar intent, result, accomplices, victims, or methods of commission, or otherwise are interrelated by distinguishing characteristics and are not isolated incidents, provided at least one of such acts occurred after July 1st, 1980, and that the last of such acts occurred within 4 years, excluding any periods of imprisonment after the commission of a prior act of racketeering activity, or engaging in one or more acts of domestic terrorism. That doesn't. 5. Racketeering activity means to commit, to attempt to commit, or to solicit, coerce, or intimidate another person to commit any crime which is chargeable by indictment under the laws of the state involving there is a lot. There is a lot, and that is one of the weaknesses for me in the RICO question. Hearsay in the RICO and only in RICO. Normal Georgia law does not allow this broadness of hearsay as they do within the RICO. And Jason, how many cases have been ruled on in favor of hearsay that we all watched the last year? Yeah, it's getting more and more diluted for almost every trial I watch. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I was hoping for one of my guests to stop by, but it seems like both are occupied. That was a bit sad. Where was I? I'm not entirely prepared for this. for this stream, as I found out about this quite recently. Normally I prepare for at least a couple of days before I put the stream up, but hey. Let's talk about Fani Willis for a bit. Let's see here. Willis studied political science at Howard University, graduating in 1993, moved to Atlanta. She's a Juris Doctor. 16 years as a prosecutor in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Her most prominent case was the prosecution of the Atlanta Public Schools cheating scandal. In 2018, she went into private practice. That year, she ran for a seat on the Fulton County Superior Court and lost. So she could have been a judge. So now many prosecutors become judges, but yeah, how she conducts these, especially how the experts she wants to bring in as experts, especially in the Young Thug trial, is appalling, in my opinion. Thank you so much, Gigi. Thank you so much. In 2020, Willis was elected district attorney for Fulton County, defeating Paul Howard Jr., a 6-term incumbent and her former boss. Now let's see here. On February 10th, 2021, Willis launched a criminal investigation into Donald Trump's attempts to influence Georgia election officials, including the governor, the attorney general, and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, via a telephone call to find enough votes to override Joe Biden's win in the states and thus undo Biden's victory in the 2020 presidential election. Even in my leftist kind of view, that phone call can be interpreted in many ways. If you want to interpret it as, you need to fake votes for me, I don't see it. More of a, there should be, according to our calculations, this amount of votes. Where are they? That would be I say this sarcastically now, but who knows, it might actually happen. Next week, some DAs from state will indict Trump for global warming or the fire in the Maui by Labor Day. Yeah. Being a district attorney seems to... Damn fly. It's fly season in Sweden, especially if you're on a farm. In January 2022, she requested a special grand jury to consider charges of election interference by Trump and his allies. In May, a 26-member special grand jury was given investigative authority and subpoena power and tasked with submitting a report to the judge and Willis on whether a crime was committed. Yeah. After hearing from 75 witnesses, blah, 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 the special grand jury completed its work and was dissolved on January 9th, 2023. On February 16th, following a judge's orders, parts of the report was released. The judge did not permit the release of recommendations for possible charges, intending to preserve the due process for anyone who might be indicted later. Several days later, the foreperson of the grand jury hinted that the recommendations were not some giant plot twist and no one should be surprised. In April, Willis announced she would announce decisions to charge Trump and his associates during the Georgia Superior Court's 4th term, perhaps as soon as July or August. Willis' office indicted Trump and 18 others on 41 charges on August 14th, 2023. And here you have the Atlanta gang indictments. In May of 2022, over a year ago, Willis' office indicted Young Thug for 56 counts of gang-related crimes under Georgia's RICO statute and felony charges for possession of illicit firearms and drugs that were allegedly discovered after a search warrant was executed. The rapper has been held in Cobb County Jail since his arrest. Yeah, he has been in jail for 15 months now, and we are still months away from arrest, from trial. And that is one of these things that makes me believe that she is unreasonable in believing that she can move the Trump indictment to trial in just 6 months. Because the opponents she has in this... Jesus Christ. Ha! Got it. Sorry about that break in the stream. Because if she can't get a local gang to trial in over a year, 15 months now, they are still not close to trial. There are still motions being had. They still haven't found a jury. I mean, it's I don't see it. I simply do not see it. Now, what speaks for Trump is that it will take longer than she expects. Much longer. But what speaks against him is she is experienced in Georgia RICO. She absolutely knows what she's doing with it. And if she manages to get a judge who is prepared to blank his calendar for this, maybe. But still, there will be 19 defendants with 19 lawyers who will do everything they can to make this go way past the election. And in my honest opinions, I believe those people are better at stalling than she is at speeding it up. Yes, Jason. Alan Dershowitz even called this bat crap insane. And Dershowitz is a Democrat. That truly tells you something. Yeah, I agree. Lateral 462 over on Rumble. If she handled it as well as this trial, yeah. I mean, it is a supreme cluster F, the Young Thug trial. If you who have seen my coverage of the Young Thug trial, you know what my opinions are about the experts she wants to bring in. And they are not good. They really aren't good. So, in my opinion, this is her doing what she promised during her election. She said, I'm going to bring Donald Trump to trial. And that's the basis. I don't think, even though we can have different opinions about the election and the election result, keep going at it after 2 years, all the way up to the next election. That money could have been spent on other things, but I'm not Trump. He does what he does best with other people's money. Hi, Jungmin. Good to see you. Lateral 462 says, if I submitted papers for signature like Trump's indictment, I would have been fired on the spot. Yeah. David, I sent you a link if you feel like going on. But as for now, I would want to share with you this. This is dated August 14th. This is the indictment. Violation of the Georgia RICO Racketeering Act, Georgia RICO Act. Solicitation of violation of oath by public officer, false statement and writings, false statements and writing, solicitation of solicitation, false statement, impersonating a public officer, okay, conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, forgery in the first degree, conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, false statement and writings again, conspiracy to commit false statement, criminal attempt to commit filing false documents, conspiracy to commit filing false documents, forgery, conspiracy, false statements, conspiracy, criminal attempt, influencing witness, a lot of false statement and writings. Filing false documents, influencing witness. I mean, everything about this is about 41 counts of you said wrong things and you try to influence others. And this is all the defendants, what they should be signing. This is a copy of it without the signatures, and I'm moving past who the grand jury was. Let's just see a bit what they allege. Introduction. Defendant Donald John Trump lost the United States presidential election held on November 3rd, 2020. One of the states he lost was Georgia. Let's see. Go up. Trump and other defendants charged in this indictment refused to accept that Trump lost, and they knowingly and willfully joined a conspiracy to unlawfully change the outcome of the election in favor of Trump. That conspiracy contained a common plan and purpose to commit 2 or more acts of racketeering activity in Fulton County, Georgia, elsewhere in the state of Georgia and in other states. That and in other states shouldn't be anywhere near this indictment. Other states have their own laws. Here is the enterprise they allege, which is, well, all these people. Unindicted co-conspirators, individual 1 through individual 30, and others known and unknown to the grand jury, constitutes a criminal organization whose members and associates engaged in various related criminal activities, including but not limited to. Here's the thing. When they claim here constituted a criminal organization, it's not a criminal organization until they are convicted of crimes, right? It should be. Not in RICO. They can allege criminal through the RICO Act. They can call it a criminal organization in order to get into the RICO Act by calling it criminal organization who does criminal things. I have not yet proven the criminal things, but I'm calling it, so it's a circular argument, in my opinion, to get people in Georgia into the RICO Act. Because to my knowledge, well, now a few of these are probably charged and convicted of crimes, but that doesn't say they are a criminal organization, in my opinion. And remember, according to many Americans, I'm as lefty as you can get. I'm a union rep. I do labor law. But it is a bit much in this that I would see is BS. This criminal organization constitutes an enterprise as that term is defined in OCGA 1614.3. That is, a group of individuals associated in fact. So they are an organization because I say they are on. Why is she RICO-obsessed? She has conducted more RICO trials than any other district attorney in the United States. And she keeps doing RICO again, no matter, more or less, in my opinion. It's her fallback when they can't get normal prosecution, normal charges going. For instance, towards gang members. In the Young Thug, almost nothing in that trial to be, is based on actual convictions. I am a Leninist according to the scriptures of Murikana. Sure. We're saints of plunder, tribulations, and drink. Yeah, sure. Obsessed is a judgment. Well, I call it, yeah, it's a bit clickbait maybe, but for me, her wishes to go to the Georgia RICO Act when she can't get convictions in proper crime, in proper court, when she knows there's not enough here. There's not enough for a proper conviction to the individual. Let's see if we can do it on the RICO trial, the RICO Act instead, because the bar is set much lower, in my opinion. Lateral 462. She relies on many acts. Over at Rumble. She relies on many acts in other states. Okay, yeah, that may be so, but then again, then let those states handle it. I don't understand that at all. Where was I? The defendants and other members and associates of the enterprise. You see, this is the circular argument again. They are because I say they are. We have it in the term defined in OCGA 1614.3, and that's why it is. And I don't like that. The enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members and associates function as a continuing unit for the common purpose of achieving the objectives of the enterprise. The enterprise operated in Fulton County, Georgia, elsewhere in the state of Georgia, in other states including but not limited to Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and in the District of Columbia. The enterprise operated for a period of time sufficient to permit its member and associates to pursue its objectives. So there were a group of people who believed the election was stolen, and they were trying to... Yeah, this prosecutor apparently likes to present a lot of cases with circular logic. I agree. If you boil it down, remove the names from this indictment. Just remove the names from the indictment. What she's saying is, these are people with a common goal. We want to find out something. They made motions and everything in courts. This is what we believe. And they lost. Now, why is this? This is, in my opinion, they brought their lawsuits into court and lost. That should be the end of it, doesn't it? They did it the legal way, and they lost the lawsuits. So why the RICO? Oh, bad people. They brought lawsuits. They claimed stuff that turned out to not hold up in court. Let's charge them. I mean, seriously? Isn't it enough that they lost in court? Democrats are setting precedents that will bite them in the arse, as they always do. Yeah, this is the thing when people try out for new statutes, for new laws, is they do it, oh, because I'm the good one. I will not misuse this. Here's the thing, kids. Other people, your political opponents, will use those laws too. Now maybe Georgia will remain a Democrat-run state for a while, but it will become a Republican, because instead of making laws and setting precedents that fits you, no, you need to make laws and precedents that is impossible for any party to misuse, in my opinion. Let's continue. Manner and methods of the enterprise. The manner and methods used by the defendants and other members and associates of the enterprise to go further the goals of the enterprise and to achieve its purpose included, but were not limited to, the following: false statements to and solicitation of state legislators. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, appeared at hearings in Fulton County, Georgia, before members of the Georgia General Assembly. At these hearings, members of the enterprise made false statements concerning fraud in the November presidential election. The purpose of these false statements was to persuade Georgia legislators to reject lawful electoral votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia. Members of the enterprise corruptly solicited Georgia legislators instead to unlawfully appoint their own presidential electors for the purpose of casting electoral votes for Donald Trump. Members of the enterprise also made false statements to the state legislators during hearings and meetings in Arizona and Pennsylvania to persuade legislators in those states to unlawfully appoint their own presidential electors. And so, I don't know if it was false, but that would be a separate issue. Wouldn't it be? These people made false statements in the assembly, and it was rejected. Do you know how many people in the General Assembly in any state, any country, around the globe are making bad statements? All of them. All the time. You want to prosecute all of them? We will have no more politicians. I mean, politicians were lying in the assembly. Duh. Seriously? That's... yeah. False statements to and solicitation of high-ranking state officials, members of the enterprise. Remember, she calls them an enterprise because she says it's an enterprise, and that makes it according to the Georgia RICO Act. Yeah. Members of the state enterprise, including several of the defendants, made false statements in Fulton County and elsewhere in the states of Georgia to Georgia officials, including the governor, the secretary of state, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Members of the enterprise also corruptly solicited Georgia officials, including blah, 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 to violate their oath to the Georgia Constitution and to the United States Constitution by unlawfully changing the outcome of the November 3rd presidential election in Georgia in favor of Donald Trump. But everything was brought to trial. They sued, and they lost. Should be end of story, in my opinion. Nonya Witness here says they put Trump's indictment on the court docket before the grand jury heard from witnesses. Yeah. That's interesting. That's really interesting. It was, yeah. Play the minute, there's an idea. Let's prosecute all the politicians, all of them. Yeah, and I've seen this in other streamers. This opens the door for every president, every elected official to prosecute their opponent who dared to speak up. Oh, sorry. There. Creation and distribution of false electoral college documents. Members of the enterprise, including several of the defendants, created false electoral college documents and recruited individuals to convene and cast false electoral college votes at the Georgia state capitol in Fulton County on December 14th, 2020. Didn't you cover this, David? Or was this Michigan? David says, so we have to assume that the President of the United States, the Chief Executive Officer, and a candidate has no right to question or challenge the result. Yeah. Now, Trump might have done it in excess, but doesn't he have the right? And I do remember the stream David had, was it 2 weeks ago? When they were discussing these electorals, and they used a case from Hawaii in the JFK versus Nixon election. Sal says every election since 2000 have been watched. Yeah. And Youngmin says questioning election result is not the issue. Well, it has a bit more with not just questioning, but how they questioned. That might be, yeah. What was it there? Oh. False electoral, blah, 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 blah. After the false electoral college votes was cast, members of the enterprise transmitted the votes to the President of the United States Senate, the Archivist of the United States, the Georgia Secretary of State, and the Chief Judge of the United States District Court for Northern District of Georgia. The false documents were intended to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress on January 6 in order to unlawfully change the outcome of the November 3rd presidential election in favor of Trump. Similar schemes were executed by members of the enterprise in Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Now, just to be clear here, this is soon to be 3 years later. Who's the president? Biden. Yeah, so now I'm getting bored with reading from that indictment. All in all, what I was trying with this stream is simply this fact that this prosecutor says she can do this in 6 months. No RICO act in Georgia has ever taken less than 6 months. And doing that towards all these individuals, all these charges, and believing that somehow they can speed run it through every hoop that these defendants will cast at them to make it take longer. I don't see how this is possible. I have just looking at the Young Thug, which is now 15 months later, and they are still months away from trial. I just don't see it happening. So is this a political prosecution? Maybe. I don't know. But for me, this is unnecessary. If you were a Democrat cheering at this, I don't think it's going to work, because instead you might make Trump into a martyr. And what you're opening the door for is just once the Republicans, when there will be a Republican president again. What's going to stop them from going after you? Absolutely nothing, because you opened the door. Yeah. Okay, Slidey Pie is over at Rumble. Good discussion there between Slidey Pie and Lateral 462 about constitutional republic, very different from a democracy. Well, potato. Yeah. Ken's counseling couch, Nick, has evidence of leading to the arrest of Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. No, I don't. What I do find very interesting in the Biden affairs is the people Hunter Biden was connected to in Europe. That is not that commonly known in the United States. And those are Eastern European mobsters. And not the nicest, not the good kind of mobster that you see in movies. These are proper assholes. So maybe I will have a look into the Hunter Biden now that I've done a Trump stream to even it out a bit. But yeah, that was the point of this stream. Just letting you know my opinions about this RICO trial after covering the Young Thug RICO trial for months now, seeing what an absolute clusterfuck that is. And her belief, the district attorney Fani, that she can bring this to trial within 6 months. I wouldn't bet on it. She might succeed, but I don't think so. What's next? Well, I don't have anything else for today. I see her over on Rumble. This is not potato, very distinct difference. I don't know enough about US thingies to to make the distinction if United States is a democracy or a constitutional republic. You still elect your officials, and that's kind of the basis of a democracy, no matter what you call it otherwise. Yeah, no, I actually don't have anything else to talk about. And the only one I find streaming. All right, constitutional democracy based on democratic rules, as in free elections, free and official elections. Ken's counseling couch. If they push a case with 19 defendants through a RICO in 6 months, then the case should be overturned for violating client rights. It's impossible. I kind of agree. We have democratic elections, but we're not a democracy. Darn it, Nick. Oh. I don't know enough. I don't know enough about that to... Yeah. A Texas woman has been arrested for threatening to kill a federal judge overseeing Trump's DC case. I mean, there are crazy people everywhere. They don't care about winning or it being overturned. They want the optics. Yes, I would agree with that. I'm going to send you over to Law Talk with Mike, because he's the only one live streaming at the moment. Tell him I said hi. Thank you all for showing up. And yeah, I'll let you all know when I have a new stream upcoming. For now, I'm going to have a beer, scotch, and then go to bed. Thank you. Bye-bye.